Right. Good morning, guys. Welcome to another session that we have in visual programming. So I don't know if you have been checking the website, but I have uploaded new videos on YouTube. So if you actually go there into the website itself, you will see that this week you need to watch XML files. So if you go to the lecture videos, there are new videos now available for you. So if you go down to the list, you will see that part 1, part 2, and part 3 are uploaded. It's over almost an hour video. So you need to watch that to know how to create, show, manipulate XML files, how to read and how to write into these files, how to update information on these files as well. So in the upcoming weeks, we're going to learn more stuff about JSON files this time. I'm going to show you how to do similar stuff using JSON. And you're going to have another project. This time, it's going to be basically a team project. Okay, you're not going to do it alone. You're going to do it with someone else together. And you will pick up your team. Obviously, I'm not going to enforce people to you, but if you are left alone, I might assign you to a group, to a team. Each team will be different from one another. I will give you more information about it. I will also give you the topics. And you will have to design basically an application with multiple forms this time. Remember your first assignment, it wasn't multiple forms. This time it will be multiple forms. And it will also use persistency of data, which means XML or JSON to store the data and to show it in a structured way. So even when you close the application and reopen it again, the data will still be there. So you will be able to watch the data, you will be able to manipulate it, update it, and so forth. So it's utterly important that you watch the XML file videos that I recorded to you this week. And should you have any questions, then you can approach me next lecture or through your email, and ask questions. Now, as I said, these sessions are predominantly here for you to approach me and ask questions. So before I start doing any random exercise, do you have any questions? Is there anyone who wants to talk? Yes, John Trudeau. Do you want to talk?
Yes, sir. There are some of my friends that cannot make it to the class.
Tell me again, I didn't get that.
I mean, some of my friends can't make it to the class because big blue button is not working anymore. The link to Zoom.
Ah, they didn't get the link?
Yeah.
Ah, okay, cool. I'll share it in the big blue button. Like, I am not quite sure what's wrong with it, because I know that they have been working on big blue button to fix it for some time, but it kicks me out every time that I go and stay more than 15 minutes. It kicks me out. Do you have the same problem?
Yes, sir.
How are other lecturers are doing their courses? I don't understand. Is it like the same in other lectures?
I don't know. Like there was a lecture I attended yesterday, and it wasn't having any issues though. It was smooth all through, about an hour plus.
It seems like it's better during the nighttime, I guess.
I don't know. Yesterday the class was around 10.
So it's very good, I think, very early in the morning or late in the night. So I know some lecturers, they transfer their lectures into the nighttime so that they
You are now muted.
get advantage from this. So, but for me, because of my lectures are usually during the morning, it doesn't work. So, do you have any questions? No questions. Okay. I'm gonna solve a very basic exercise in XML files. Then, even though I did the videos, I will go back and solve a similar exercise. Show you around how you can find your way. And just to give you some brief description, basically around 50 to 60% of the courses are now going to be covered through assignments, online quizzes, online materials, and so forth. And at a later time, an exam date will be announced to you. And you will take the exams now, not online, but actually when you go back to the university. This decision was approved yesterday. So it means now that you're gonna take the exams, the official exams, such as your midterm and final, when you go back. But your lecturers have the decision to take around 40 to 60% as online evaluation. So I gave you 20% already for your assignment. I'm gonna give you another one. I will decide the percentage rate. So you will have 2 projects in this course, and the rest will be covered by the exams. Okay, so mainly my way of evaluating you will be the projects that you do. And throughout these projects, I will decide your mark. And then when we go back to the university, you will take the official exam and your final mark will be released. That will be the way. So right now, because I haven't stopped and I didn't go very slow, I almost finished most of my subjects, and the lectures will actually continue until June. So this means that they extended the time for lectures, and there will be more and more lectures. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slow down a bit with my lectures because I only have 3 subjects left in my course to cover. And I almost covered most of the material I was about to cover anyway. So I'm going to show you XML today, some JSON, list views, and data storage, and some additional components which I plan to show that you can use in other projects in the future. So that is my goal. So if you don't have any questions, let me explain you what is an XML file. An XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. It is a specific standard, specific language, just like HTML. It's a script language. But the idea here is that XML is used for structuring data, where HTML is used for displaying data. So when we go to look the differences between XML and HTML, we can see that HTML tags are already created. They are there for you to be used, and you basically create these tags to create a display, the look of a website. Where in XML, the point is not about how it looks, but it is about how the data is structured. Okay, so basically in XML, what you do is you create your own tags so that you can name the data in a better way. You can structure it and you can use it as a storage. Now, back in early 2000s, this was invented to transfer data over the web. So this is where actually web services was born. So XML was the way to transfer data and to store it, so that different web services, now we call them Internet of Things, shared the data throughout the web. So they define a certain structure, let's say, to store the data, and they all use the same thing so they could share it. However, in time, especially when we want to transfer, let's say, very structured data, it became very, very difficult to use XML, because especially parsing process is slow. This is why there is now a replacement for XML. I would say not a replacement, but the next step, let's say, in transferring data through web services, and it's called JSON, JavaScript Object Notation. So most of the web services now on the internet, they are actually using JSON rather than XML. But XML has its own use as well, and it is still being used either locally or through the web services for simple tasks. Okay. So when we look at the differences between HTML and XML, like I said, the first difference lies in HTML is used to display the data. It's focused on how the data looks, where XML is used for structuring the data, storing the data. It is actually focused on what data is. HTML is a markup language. XML is also a markup language, but it is also provides a framework for you to define that data. HTML, one of the big differences is that it's not case sensitive. So it doesn't matter if you type P, which stands for paragraph, capital or lowercase, where XML is case sensitive, just like C, C++, Java, C#, XML is a case sensitive markup language. HTML is used for presentation. XML is neither a presentation language nor a programming language. It is basically an overly simplified file version of a database, you can say. So basically we use XML like a database, okay? So we store information there. HTML has its own predefined tags. XML, you do your own tags. You create them yourself. In HTML, it is not necessary to use a closing tag. So even if you do not close the P tag, or even if you do not close a tag that you opened, HTML documents work. It is not suggested that it should be like this. You should always close the tags themselves. But even if you do not close them, it will still work. In XML, however, this is mandatory. You need to close every single tag that you open. Otherwise, this will create serious problems either in execution or in parsing. HTML is static because it is used to display data. XML is dynamic because it is used to transport data. So once again, the main purpose of XML is actually sharing data, okay? HTML does not preserve white space, XML preserve white space. So each time actually that we want to get the data from XML, what we do is we remove the intent inside it, intent data, so that we can parse it. So let's see an example. So how we do it. So whenever you create an XML file, basically what you do is you define a structure for yourself, such as a tag that will mean anything. So you see in here that if you want to deliver a note to someone, such as you want to say something in a piece of paper, or you want to write a letter, let's say, you need to indicate who is writing the letter, who the letter is written to, the heading that you mean. It could be an email, it could be an actual mail, and the body. So when you look at this, the note part is the basic activity that you are doing. So each time you make a new node, you define the node tag, and every other property of the node, such as to, from, heading, body, it goes inside. And then you list them one by one. This is the core structure of every single XML file. It doesn't have to be node, it doesn't have to be to or from, because you decide what it has to be, but the structure is more or less the same. You must realize that the nodes that you write, the actual tags that you put, they are always closed. So you open node, you close it. The body, closed. Heading, closed. If you don't do this, it will actually create you an error, and it will not really understand what you are trying to do. Like up to here, do you have any questions? Here's an example of XML file that I shared with you that you should be able to see it on the screen. Can you see my screen? Very good. So we have a bookstore, and each time, as you can see, there is a new book. You add it inside those tags, and the properties are also listed there, such as the title of the book, the year it published, the price, the author, and so forth. You can even add attributes. This is not a must, but it is possible that you can, for example, add attributes to your tags as well. The tags are the main way to deliver data, but you can also enrich this by using tags themselves. Have you ever seen XML files before, or have you ever used them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I have used XML files, but in Android Studio, while working with Android Studio.
Yes, basically the design of the Android environment, whenever you want to design a user interface, it is actually done in XML. Very good. So whenever you want to design a user interface like the one that we design every week with our forms, so Android Studio also has something like this where you can drag and drop. But if you actually go back to the code itself, you will see that it's an XML file, right? So I'm going to show you how we can create XML files and how we can structure this in visual programming so that you'll be able to perform similar functionalities in Visual Studio. So you will use XML files or JSON files to create these in your project, as I told you. In the second project, this will be the main focus. So without any further ado, let's get started. So I'm gonna go to the properties first and change it to XML. Going back now, and I want to basically define a structure. So I'm gonna put a button here, and basically a text box. Let me just put a group box so I can group them all together. A text box. And a label. So just going into the properties of the group box, I will make this bigger. just too big. We'll go back and make it smaller. 14 maybe. Yeah. And I'm gonna type some information here. Enter XML file name. And we're gonna go in there. And we're gonna give the user the chance to enter the file name that they want to create. And this will be XML files. So in here, I'm offering the option to the user to create their XML file, and I'm gonna name this as create XML file. And the file format will be fixed, and this will be the same in your project because you need to know what to store into the file, what kind of format you need to follow. You can choose the file name itself, but what you're gonna create will be basically the standard. So I'm gonna put properties here. This one, I'm just gonna come down and say text txt file name. This one will be button create. Now, what I wanted here to do is whenever the user presses on the create XML file, I want to create a certain file. So we can do that by going into the button, and in here we can create the file name. Now the first thing we need to do is to get the file name. So we're going to define a string value. File name will be initialized to txt file name dot get text. The file name should not be empty, so we can check that up. If file name dot length is less than 1, then we can display a message. Please enter a file. Then display as an error message. And now, whenever this is not the case, you can put an else, and everything can go in here. Now, when the file name is being entered, we can create the XML document now. To do this, we can use XML document, a specific command that we'll be able to use for displaying XML data. So how do we do this? We can just type XML document, and we can create our doc. New XML document. Now this command might be not recognized automatically. You just need to press on Alt Enter and put the necessary input, in this case using XML. So if you go up now, it says using system XML is added, so it recognizes my command. To create the file name, you can simply load the file that you have in here. So we can say that the file name in here is actually plus equals to file name plus dot XML. the extension of the file is XML. Even though you did not enter it, we basically created like that. So whenever we want to structure the data now, we can basically use the doc to load the XML. By loading the XML file, you can now create your own tags. For example, we can create a tag. What do we want to create? I want to say something like, okay, let's say books. So I'm just going to create books and add on the top of it. So this should be not closed now. I will close it later, and I will add more stuff into the books. A book, for example, each book can have a specific name or ID or whatsoever. So we can add a book number for the book itself. Let's say book number 1. Now, whenever we open this, we need to make sure that it is closed. Something like that. We can add more, such as book name. So every one of these should be with quotation marks. Lord of the Rings. And book name will be closed. And another one, let's say, should be book title. And that adds one more stuff. Can just call it title really, because we already have book. So I'm just gonna call it number, title, and author. And the author is J.R.R. Tolkien. And we're gonna close author. So now that I'm happy with the book itself, I can actually close it, and I can close the quotation marks themselves. So every one of them, as you can see, is written down inside the tag, and using this tag now you can close the book itself, the books, the one that we use for roots. So I'm going to put it there, plus coming down and closing that one too. Every open tag must be closed. Now that we close the books, I'm just going to put the bracket and close the entire statement. And as you can see, I structured the document. So I have books. Inside the books, I have one book, which is number 1. And we can say this Fellowship of the Ring, J.R.R. Tolkien, and it's another book. So basically, if you want to add more books, what you do here is that you add another book like that, and you just change its properties. So second book is coming down there, Game of Thrones. And the book is there. So once we are happy about the books, we can save the data. How do we do that? We use something called XML text writer. So you can say using XML text writer. By all means, this is not the only way. You can create actually XML files in other ways, but I find this way is the easiest one. And you define a location for your specific book. So what we're gonna do in here, we're gonna put using text writer, and we're gonna say XML text writer. Yes. Let me just finish this part and I'll take your question, okay?
All right.
So I'm gonna put this one, and you can define the location now for the book. So now when you want to create the XML file, you can define its location anywhere. You can say that it is under, for example, C drive or whatsoever. But what you could do here is that it's better if you create it inside the project. So I'm going to put some clashes going back, and going back again to create my XML file. And I'm going to name it as the name that was given, which was the file name that you originally typed. So I'm going to add this on the top. And I don't want any properties now for the file to be executed. So I'm just going to put it there. And inside, I'm just going to make sure that this file can be written down. So the file name is located in your folder now. So what we need to do, we need to write the file. You can remove any kind of intent. This is kind of like optional, but it's good that if you do it. Even if you don't do it, it will work. And then we're going to save the file itself. So more or less, this is how it's done. So let's see if this is going to work for us. We don't have any errors, as you can see. All the errors are gone, but we might have an error during the runtime. So I'm going to type this, and we have a program, and I'm just going to type my books here and press on create. We have a title start tag on position 1 that it doesn't match the book title. Yes, it's true. You see that I type title, but then I tried to close the book title. You see how it annoyed. So every tag that you open, it must be closed properly. And if you don't do that, you will get an error. So make sure to match the.
Sorry, excuse me, sir. It's
yes.
not just the title, even the author closing tag. There is C
Yes.
instead of R.
Thank you very much. So yeah, if I don't fix these errors, the compiler will warn me. So I will have to pay attention what I type. It's not like HTML where it won't give you an error. It will actually give you an error if you do not type it properly. My books create because I didn't write a message. It didn't give me an error. So maybe I should have written a message here. So I'm just going to put a message box to show whether the book is successfully created. Your XML file named whatever name you gave it, file name, is successfully created. So it's better if you write it like this, so at least you'll get a message whether or not this is created. So I'm just gonna go there and type my books. Create your file name mybooks.xml is successfully created. So let's go and check the directory whether this is actually true or not, because we need to look to the location. Open folder in file, and went into the file location now just to see if the file is there. And as you can see, there is my books.xml, and if I try to edit it, you can see that all that information that I wrote such as Fellowship of the Ring, J.R.R. Tolkien, George R. Martin, Game of Thrones. Everything that I wrote there is inside the project folder now. So if I delete this, let me just delete it and rerun the program. Maybe I can put them all together at the same time. Yes. Again, my books, create XML. You can see that my books is being created here. Now I can go and edit it. So that is how you create XML. Right, we are under 2 minutes. If you have any quick questions, I can answer it now. If not, I will close this session and invite you again on BB. Do you have any questions you want to ask? Okay, no questions. Very good. Everything is clear. Now I'm going to end up this session then, and please go back to BB and I'll invite you for the next session. All right? So I'll see you guys on BB. Take care.